Alright, let's talk about Fazbear Frights again. Today we're going to be covering the final story in The Cliffs. He Told Me Everything, and I don't really like this one. Again, in the last video it was a bit of a controversial pick. In this one too. Yeah, not many people seem to really dislike this one much. I just didn't really find myself enjoying it. We're also going to be covering the Stitchwraith story, but we'll get to that at the end. I want to quickly cover this story first. There isn't much to talk about, but I still want to go over it. But first,
only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you want to see more, consider subscribing.
It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. So this story actually has a special cameo from me, Chris. I am apparently the main character in the story, so that's cool. Chris in this story is probably one of the most unlikable characters we've seen in the series so far, so that's nice. So Chris is just about to join high school, and he wants to join the science club. It seems like he's just basically abandoning everything in his life up until this point, and now that he's in high school, he's going to try and have a fresh start. And he's just he's being a jerk to his friends and his family, and he's just really unlikable. But what he wants to do in high school is he wants to join the science club, which is operated by a Mr. Little. And Mr. Little is known for doing these crazy experiments, and this year he's planning to do an especially life-changing one. We don't know what it is yet, but a life-changing experiment. And what he's going to do is he's going to keep the students after hours, and he's going to do the experiments when there's basically no one else in the building, so you know some stuff is about to go down. There is a lot of filler in this story. There's a lot of stuff about Chris meeting some new friends in high school, which doesn't really end up going anywhere. Those characters are never seen again after he originally meets them. There's a scene where he goes to a cafe with them. It doesn't really end up doing anything. What it really shows is how the people in this science club are very, I don't know what the word is, but they're very stuck up, almost. Some of them seem okay, but there's others that just, you kind of get bad vibes from them. And this whole place, it has kind of a cliquey feel to it. They like to make fun of the students in the other science club, which they say is just for the dumb kids. And they like to just kind of, I don't know, they're not good people, but Chris doesn't really see that, and he really wants to be a part of this science club thing, because he thinks it's going to be finally his chance to really fit in. So after just a bunch of this filler, we actually get to take a look at what the experiment in the story is, and this is where the story gets a bit weird, right? Because there isn't an animatronic who's a villain in this story. There isn't really, we've had stories where there hasn't really been any clear villain before. Stuff like The Real Jake. The Man in Room 1280 was kind of iffy. I mean, we didn't really know William was William for a while. It wasn't quite confirmed. And he never really plays a villainous role in that story specifically anyway. He's just kind of sitting there in his hospital bed. Crispy sausage in a hospital bed, as I called him in a video a while back. Anyway, what's weird is the villain in this story is literally just a pile of goo. And that is not even a joke. That is literally, it's called Fazgoo. And it's a product by Fazbear Entertainment that the people in the science class kind of assume is for kids, but Mr. Little assures them, no, it's not. And what they do, what the experiment they're doing is you pull out one of your own teeth, you put it in this Fazgoo, and then you have to stick your index finger in the goo, and it will supposedly feed off of your red blood cells and create an entirely new being. Because what Mr. Little says is, the goo assumes, or the tooth assumes, that since it's connected to the goo, which is, it's all very vague, but apparently it's supposed to be similar to the inside of your mouth, and so the tooth thinks it's still in your mouth, and it tries to continue growing. And apparently, it's supposed to create an entirely new mouth that tells you something that, as he says, you'll never forget. It's all very, very strange, and there's been a lot of speculation as to what this could mean to the lore, but we don't know for sure because it's also, it's weird. It's a weird story, and it gets weirder. So Chris is just really, really paranoid, and he does not want to do this at all. And one night when he's at home, his sister's getting one of her teeth pulled, and he has an idea. And so what he does is, instead of using one of his own teeth and having to pull it out, he uses one of his baby teeth because apparently he kept them for some reason. Now this, for some reason, makes his experiment take just a lot longer. He puts one of his baby teeth in, and it takes a lot longer to actually create this new being as is supposed to happen. And all the other students leave the building, right? They all leave long before his experiment is done, and before they leave, they tell Mr. Little that he told me everything. Well, if they're a boy, that's what they say. If they're a girl, they say she told me everything, but, you know, it's the name of the story, whatever. And so now, the question is, okay, who told them everything? Supposedly the new being they made out of their own tooth, but what were they told? That's the question. Chris takes a few naps, and each time he wakes up, this creature starts to form a little bit more. It's made of the pink goo, and it slowly starts to resemble him. First it starts with the torso, then it starts to grow a head and limbs, and he's really freaked out by this, and he wants to ask Mr. Little if something's wrong. So he tries to sort of sever the cord between his index finger and the goo, but that starts to strangle him for some reason, and he can't seem to sever the cord. And he himself actually compares it to almost like an umbilical cord. So there's some weird stuff going on. One interesting detail is he actually realizes that it has the same heartbeat as him, just to kind of confirm, okay, it's almost like he's being cloned. So he wakes up one of these times, right, and he finds out his eye is gone. I believe it was his left eye, and it's gone, and he realizes, he sees it like just as it's being sucked through the sort of goo, and he realizes this creature is like absorbing his body parts, and for some reason it takes him this long to start to be a little bit concerned about what's going on. He was a little bit wary before, but now he's freaking out, and he slowly gets more parts of him sucked out as he slowly gets more desperate, and so he tries, well, the weird thing is, right, like, he doesn't, like, freak out. He does for a little bit, but he quickly recovers and realizes, okay, guess I'll die. And he literally just tells the goo creature, okay, be good to my family, be a good person. He starts to, like, I don't know, it's really strange. He tells him, like, to take the dog on walks and stuff. He starts to get, like, really calm for whatever reason. I don't know, it's strange. This story is so weird. But yeah, then he gets sucked into the goo creature, which the creature is now fully formed, and it looks pretty much identical to Chris, apart from like a little bit of a pinkish texture, or not texture, color to its skin. It puts his remaining remains, I was going to say, it puts his remains in a bag, and then it walks over to Mr. Little and says, he told me everything, and then it walks away, this clone thing. So, that's the story. That is the story that we're dealing with here, and I am very confused. I feel like this probably has to mean something, right? Like, because it does sort of remind me of Michael, remember, from Sister Location, and how he sort of gets taken over by something else that's not really him. And yet, that's a very different scenario. Sure, it's still something taking over your body, but it is a very different thing still, and I'm not sure if there is supposed to be like a parallel there, what this story is supposed to tell us about that story, about Michael. Is there supposed to be like a new revelation here, or what? I don't know, I couldn't tell you. But it seems like not only is Chris being cloned, but Dr. Little is actually literally just cloning everyone in his class. Is that what's going on here? In the science club, I guess, not technically a class. It's really strange. Like, what is this story? What does it mean? I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot. This is probably the story out of this book that I've been giving the most thought. And yet, I have no idea. It's very, very strange. Not just the fact that there's no robot antagonist, but just what happens. I need you guys to let me know what you think, because I am sort of at a loss, to be honest. But this would definitely be a good story to do a theory on later on, after I've kind of sort of collected my thoughts on the story. I already have, like, to some extent. I've been thinking about this a lot, but I haven't really come to any concrete answers. It's so out of place next to all the other stories. I'm really confused about it. But now let's quickly talk about the Stitchwraith story, and this one is crazy. Not only is it really the longest one we've had so far, the Stitchwraith story, it's like 20 pages, it's also just really weird, and it features a bunch of different cameos from different characters that we've seen in the past. So this Stitchwraith teaser takes place, like, immediately after the one right before, where William Afton gets his new, like, robot mech form, because this is where we're at, folks. I'm not complaining, though. This is actually, it's really cool, and so is this story. Okay, anyway, Larson sees this thing starting to form, and he decides he's gonna hide behind a forklift. Jake, meanwhile, is apparently completely fine. It seemed like he died or something in the last one, or that he was, like, sucked into miscreation. Apparently, actually, Andrew was, which I don't know how I missed that. I thought it was Jake, but I guess I was wrong. I don't know. But yeah, Jake is still inside the Stitchwraith. Andrew is nowhere to be found. Presumably, he's trapped inside all that junk in the miscreation now, so there you go. I guess that's where Andrew is right now, at least for the moment. And this miscreation is still pulling junk into it, trying to form a bigger, creepier robot, and Jake is almost being sucked in, but he's trying to stop himself from being sucked into this thing. And he sees, and this is interesting, a female endoskeleton very close to him, and at first I thought, okay, who is this? Maybe it's Sarah from To Be Beautiful? It took me until, like, after I'd finished reading the story to realize that it was actually described that she has a long neck in the story. I don't know how I missed that. So no, it's not Sarah, it's Eleanor. I just figured Eleanor's a little bit more than an endoskeleton. Like, she has paint and stuff as well. She's not just the skeleton part of a robot, she's kind of the whole thing. But I guess, yeah, it's Eleanor. Eleanor is here. And this is weird, right? So Eleanor pins Jake to the ground, okay? And he senses a similar dark energy coming from her that he's felt from the miscreation. And he says, though, and this is weird, that it's stronger. Stronger than the bad energy that we feel from William Afton, which is just, I'm not sure why that is. Something worse than him, which we hear more about later in the epilogue. He realizes that he was also infected with this bad energy, agony, I guess, and that she's actually taking it out of him, and then she flings herself into the miscreation and she's sucked into it as well, like all the other junk. Now we go back to Larson, and there's a lot of quick cuts here. Larson actually gets, like, some actual character development since, you know, up until now he's just been, oh, I'm a deadbeat father and my son hates me and so does my wife. Now he's actually starting to maybe be a bit different. He's starting to get some sort of change in that area. Took them long enough, I don't know, but it's cool. He realizes he needs to stop this miscreation, and so what he does, right, is he tries to, I don't really know what his plan was at the start there, but he's almost immediately just impaled by the miscreation, so whatever it was, it didn't work. So Larson is trying to catch his breath. I mean, he's just been stabbed. I think we can forgive him if he's a little bit dazed, but he gets back up, like, almost immediately, so it's described that he hears voices telling him to get back up, and that's never explained who that is, but immediately after we do see the miscreation, like, right in front of him, and it says that Larson can hear voices singing coming from the miscreation and all the different parts on its face, almost like they're singing on stage, which is really weird, and we'll talk about that in a second. So Larson runs away and escapes immediately after being stabbed, so, like, this guy's cool. And he notices that the bag of evidence that he brought with him to this place is glowing, and it's next to the forklift. So he goes back to the forklift, he opens the bag, and he sees, get this, the face of the puppet inside. Yeah, okay. This is getting interesting. So the puppet's face, and it says to him, take me to him. So he knows what he has to do. So Larson gets into the forklift, he rams it into the miscreation, and he tries to drive it off of the edge of the dock into the water. He's trying to drown it, but it's not working because the miscreation is probably stronger than a forklift. But the puppet goes out of the bag. It goes into the miscreation, and that actually gives Larson time to get away, as the miscreation actually just completely destroys the forklift. Now what happens next is weird, because I'll admit I was kind of expecting this robot thing to last a lot longer than it did, but Larson tries to buy himself some time, right? So he asks this miscreation thing, okay, what are you? Why are you so evil and bad? And the miscreation basically just says, I am agony, so I guess that's the name of this thing now? Alright, I guess that's what I'll call it now. Agony, cool. Not gonna be confusing at all, because agony is also the name of, like, remnant in this universe? I don't know. What's going on? So Eleanor just randomly shoots herself out of the miscreation and into one of the factory's vents, so she's coming back again. And the puppet manages to tear the miscreation, sorry, Agony, apart from the inside, and all the pieces just fall into the water. And that's the end of William Afton again, I guess. So Jake, inside the Stitchwraith, realizes Larson is actually infected by Afton's sort of evil energy. He goes to Larson, and what he does, and this is weird, is he fetches battery pack inside of him start to glow, takes his hand on the battery pack, now his hand is warm, puts it on Larson, and he sort of burns the infection away. It's all very cryptic. Then he hears police sirens and he runs away. And as he's running away, he realizes that there may have been something else inside the miscreation, sorry, Agony, because Afton seemed to be very weak. He didn't seem to be as strong as he used to be. And that makes him think there's something else inside there. And with that realization, the epilogue ends. So there's quite a bit to unpack here. I mean, it looks a bit confusing at first, right? But I think we can kind of piece together what's going on here. It's, once again, this kind of representation of the battle between the light energy and the dark energy, and we can kind of see it in the miscreation, in Jake, in the puppet. It's like giving this very clear show of the fact that there's good and there's bad, and they're fighting, and Larson's just kind of in the middle of it. All the singing voices in the miscreation are just all the other robots that were sucked into him and all the agony inside of them. The glowing puppet, while I can't explain how the puppet is back, apparently it is, and the glowing coming from it is the light energy. It tears the miscreation apart, which means the puppet is apparently gone again. A lot happened, but none of it is really unexplainable for now, except for, like, the very end, where it's revealed there's something else inside of Agony. And I don't know where it really is now. Is it still at the bottom of that lake? Is someone going to have to go and get it and make sure it doesn't hurt anyone? Maybe it was Eleanor, but I don't think so. She seems to kind of be, I don't know, something else. I'm not really sure why she showed up. I'm not really sure why the puppet just showed up just to kill him and then go away again as well. That seemed a bit unnecessary. They could have probably killed it off in a different way, but nope, the puppet shows up for like 5 seconds and then it's gone again. Cool. Overall, though, I did like this story, and I'm really, it's a shame because now I'm really excited for the next book, which is coming out, I believe, in 2 months, like normal. Is that correct? May, I think? Yeah, I think it's May. I don't know. Yeah, that's Gumdrop Angel, which seems like it'll be an interesting one. Is that the one with Andrew as well? I'm pretty sure Andrew was actually the main character in one of those stories. No, I think that was number 9, book 9. I don't know, there's too many of these. I can't keep track anymore. But I'm excited to see where this goes from here on out. Thank you all for watching, once again, and I will see you in future videos, I guess. Unless you don't care about my other videos, that's fine. That's cool. That's fine. Anyway, yeah. See you soon. Bye-bye.